Okay, so there's a lot of videos on how to get your fridge running, and I don't have a bike pump, so what I did was I got a garbage bag. I don't know why this thing zooms in so much. I got a garbage bag and filled it up with air, and then just put a whatever it's called, twisty tie, whatever you want to call it, around that end. And then over here, took that little guy off. It's been 2 years since I had this thing running at least, and I tried without forced air kind of approach into this tube, and that didn't work. So I tried this, tore just a little tiny hole right there, fit it over this thing. Can't do it with one hand. Alright, fit it over with that thing, kind of push this up against there, and then just leaned on it with my left leg and held the button with my right hand for maybe 5 seconds. Started pumping, gave it maybe like 10 or 12 pumps, maybe more, and then popped it. And you can see the spark whenever you hit it, and probably even, you can't see it with it running, but anyway, the sight glass actually works fairly well. The other tips, oh, and I did have to, so I had to hold it down for about a minute, and I kept leaning on this bag. The first time I took the bag away and held the button down, and it kind of it got a little brighter, a little dimmer, a little brighter, a little dimmer, and then it went out after about 15 seconds. So it does need a little bit more forced air, because obviously it's colder outside than it is inside the van. It's probably 50 degrees outside, and so the problem, of course, is that cold air is from outside. It's falling down this tube, and it's trying to fall out this hole, and so we want to force the air to go that direction. And another, so the two hints that I heard were turn this guy on to make sure that gas is going, and turn on and light it for a second. And the other hint that I heard, which I didn't see on a video, but I think I read it in a forum, is to use electricity for a little while, and so that'll heat up that heating element inside there, which the heating element and the flame both heat the same basically tube. And so that if you used electricity, it would force that, it would get it hot, and it would start the flow of air from the inside to the outside. At least that's what makes sense to me. And of course, if you've not watched any other videos, you got to turn the gas on, at your tank. There's usually I guess there's an intermediate valve on my van. There's a valve right there, one for the fridge and one for the stove. You gotta turn this to 1, turn this to the center, which is the flame, turn this to max, and then this is the little pump guy, as well as the piezo igniter, and this is basically the gas. So you have to hold this down manually until the gas starts flowing, and then there's a little thermistor in there, or whatever it's called, thermostatically controlled switch that makes the gas start flowing after it gets hot enough. So that's why you have to hold it down for about a minute. Like I said, I kept leaning on the bag and forcing the air in there for about a minute, and then I could let off the gas. I tried letting off the second time, I think, let off after about 15 seconds, and it wasn't warm enough, so the little light went out, so the flame went out. This is another thing. I gotta clean this fridge out, obviously. This is I think a relatively smart thing that I did was, so there's this drawer. When you close it, it's gonna bang into something. So what I did was I put a bunch of cans in here and closed it, and they were all in this line, so I just drew a line across right there. That means if cans are on this side of this little dotted line, the fridge ain't gonna close. So that was just kind of a handy thing. And I also did all the fans in here, and fans are on the back and all that kind of crap you can read on the Samba. And I built a little switch and make the fans run. Who knows if they actually do anything. Anyway, to ask the fridge. It does feel maybe a little colder after 15 minutes, but most people say if you're going to use it for camping, to basically let it go for at least several hours. Some people say overnight. And also, of course, people say don't put warm stuff in there and expect the fridge to work. Basically, take stuff from your fridge and put it in here, and then it'll probably stay cold. I've heard that the fridge is good for cooling to something like maybe 25 or 30 degrees below, well, Fahrenheit, below the ambient temperature. So if it's 100 degrees outside, it's 110 inside the van, which means this thing is going to be 75 or 80 degrees or something like that. So it's not great, but it's cold now. We're going to go camping this weekend, so I'm going to try to actually use it and not bring a freaking cooler like we always do and buy ice. So good luck with that. Also, some people may wonder if you can put this little screw back in the cover on the tube after you get it running. The answer is yes, you can. And like somebody said, if there's any doubt whether or not the little flame is going, you can just feel this guy out here. And yeah, that's already getting hot, so you know it's working. Here's the other parts. This guy goes like this. Sorry. Size up in there. This guy with the little bar goes down here. Some beers in there or something. And this little handy guy is your drip tray. And slides into that. I'm not sure if he's supposed to go which way or if it even matters. Doesn't particularly want to go in there. Oh. This thing seems like it's collapsed. There it goes. Somebody had it with the pointy side in. I don't know if it matters. Anyway, that's for condensation for the fins. Oh, and this little shelf. Ooh, starting to see some condensation. That's great. It's getting nice and cold. This little guy, that's your ice maker. Pretty sweet. It is definitely cold. That's great. It's working. Sweet. If we go around back, I forgot that there's two tubes back there. One a larger diameter than the other, those metal tubes that go to the flue, the vent, and go to the back of basically the little chamber where the flame is. And one of them is incredibly hot and one of them is not. And so one of them is the air intake from the outside and the other one is the exhaust. So don't have anything touching either of them because one of them gets really hot, and I just had a rag back there to catch some dripping from the sink and it could have caught fire. But right, that's how the air gets in there, and that's why it doesn't, that's why you can cover the little guy down there at the bottom and still have it work.